The acrid scent of plasma discharge hung heavy in the air as Commander Rowan Hale stepped through the wreckage of what had once been Frontier Bastion K-47. Ionized smoke clawed at his lungs even through triple-layer filtration. The sky above the shattered fortress pulsed with residual auroras from orbital strikes, streaks of violet and sickly green bleeding across a horizon still glowing from atmospheric burns. Twisted gun emplacements jutted from the ground like broken teeth. Half-melted transport hulls lay scattered across the courtyard, their interiors blackened silhouettes frozen mid-evacuation. His boots crushed shattered alloy and spent casings. Each step echoed across the ruined plaza, too loud in the vacuum of silence that followed annihilation. Somewhere far off, a damaged reactor gave a final metallic groan before collapsing inward with a distant thud. The battlefield was silent. Too silent. Hale paused beside the carcass of a defense mech, its cockpit blown open from the inside. Ash drifted sideways in thin sheets across the ground. No movement. No screams. No return fire. His HUD flickered across the inside of his visor, tactical overlays struggling to re-establish link with orbital satellites. Armor integrity, 54%. Primary rail rifle, 22% charge. Sidearm, 3 rounds remaining. Squad status, scanning. He held his breath. Scanning. Scanning. No friendly signals. A weight settled into his chest. He might be the last one standing. He switched channels anyway. Bastion Command, this is Hale. Do you copy? Only static answered. Frontier Bastion K-47 had been humanity's line in the sand, a joint defensive installation built after first contact with the Varelian warrior caste. The Varelians had arrived without diplomacy, without warning. They had called Earth weak. They had called humanity temporary. The war had been swift, brutal, and today it had come here. Hale adjusted the grip on his rail rifle, the weapon humming faintly as capacitors cooled. Microfractures spidered across his shoulder plate where a plasma burst had nearly torn through. His suit's servos whined under stress, compensating for muscle fatigue he no longer had the luxury to acknowledge. He stepped over the body of a Varelian trooper, taller than any human, armored in segmented crimson plating. Even in death, it radiated coiled violence. The enemy fleet had withdrawn minutes ago. Why? Victors didn't retreat. Not without reason. A faint tremor rippled beneath his boots. Not structural collapse. Movement. His HUD stuttered, trying to isolate the source. Deep within the shattered command bunker, beneath layers of reinforced durasteel and burning debris, a weak life signature pulsed. Not human. Varelian. Hale stared at the reading. Enemy combatant. Survival probability, low. Protocol was clear. Recover human personnel only. Terminate hostile survivors. He looked across the empty battlefield. No squad. No command. No witnesses. He might be the last one standing. And somewhere beneath the ruins of Bastion K-47, an alien warrior was still alive. The life signature pulsed again. Faint. Buried. Hale moved through the collapsed command bunker, stepping over twisted bulkheads and dangling cables that spat intermittent sparks. The air was thicker here, heavy with burned insulation and something sharper beneath it. Alien blood. His HUD narrowed the signal to a debris mound near what had once been the strategic operations table. A reinforced ceiling panel had caved in, pinning something beneath it. Movement detected. He approached slowly, rail rifle raised. A clawed hand shifted beneath the wreckage. Not thrashing. Not attacking. Struggling. Hale set the rifle aside but kept it within reach. He braced against the slab and activated his suit's servo assist. Metal groaned as he forced the panel upward just enough to see beneath it. Beneath the debris lay a figure that didn't belong to the smoke and ruin. She was larger than any human woman, built with the lethal symmetry of a born warrior. Crimson and obsidian armor plates were fused directly into her skin along her shoulders and ribs, biometallic growth rather than equipment. Beneath fractured plating, dark indigo flesh shimmered faintly with embedded crystalline fibers that pulsed weakly like failing circuitry. 2 backward curving horns framed her head, one cracked near the base. Fine ridges traced down her jawline, elegant and severe. Her hair, thick, black, threaded with metallic strands, was matted with blood. One leg lay twisted unnaturally beneath the collapsed slab. Her breathing was shallow but controlled. Even broken, she radiated power. Her eyes opened, sharp, intelligent, defiant. They locked onto his visor without fear. Recognition flickered there. Human. Enemy. "You should finish it," she said, voice low and resonant. The translator in his helmet strained to keep pace with her guttural dialect. "I would not hesitate in your position." Hale held her gaze. "You're pinned." "Yes." "You're bleeding out." "Yes." She did not blink. "You will not leave this bunker alive if you remain," she added calmly. "Your fleet has withdrawn. You are alone." He activated his bioscanner, sweeping a lattice of light across her form. The data appeared instantly. Species: Varelian, warrior caste. Massive internal hemorrhaging. Femoral fracture, compound. Spinal microfractures. Estimated survival probability without immediate xenomedical intervention, 1.8%. Extraction viability, negative. Even if he managed to drag her through the ruins, her physiology was incompatible with Terran medical systems. Varelian biometal integrated with organic tissue. Their blood chemistry would clot human nanite systems instantly. She wouldn't survive transport. Protocol scrolled across his HUD. Directive 4A. Terminate incapacitated hostile combatants. Directive 9D. Do not endanger remaining personnel for enemy retrieval. Her gaze never left him. "Leave me," she said. Not pleading. Commanding. His scanner confirmed it. She wouldn't survive extraction. Protocol was clear. Hale reached down and tightened his grip beneath the slab. Then he ignored it. The slab trembled as Hale planted his boots against fractured decking. Servomotors in his exosuit whined to full output. Warning sigils flashed across his HUD, structural collapse risk, high, but he overrode them without hesitation. The metal groaned, shifted, fell aside with a crash that shook dust from the ceiling. He dropped to one knee beside her. Her leg was twisted badly, biometal plating cracked open where indigo blood seeped through in slow, controlled pulses. She didn't scream, didn't flinch, just watched him. "Like hell," he muttered, sliding one arm beneath her shoulders and the other under her uninjured leg. He lifted. She was heavier than any human he'd carried, dense musculature woven with living alloy. His suit compensated, servos straining as he rose. "You are illogical, human," she said evenly. "Yeah," he grinned behind the visor. "It's kind of our thing." He adjusted his hold, careful not to jar her fractured leg. Even through armor, he could feel the heat of her skin, her internal temperature running higher than his suit's comfort threshold. "You jeopardize yourself for an enemy," she continued. "Former enemy," he corrected. "There is no former in war. There is if both sides are bleeding." A distant rumble rolled through the bunker, secondary detonations or returning patrols. Hard to tell. Her gaze sharpened. "You misunderstand," she said. "My people will not spare you because you carried me. Wasn't banking on it. You risk execution by your own command." He shifted her weight higher against his chest. "Probably." She studied him closely now. "You are wounded," she observed. "Your left shoulder plate is compromised. Your gait favors the right." "Wow," he muttered. "You Varelians ever try small talk? It is not insult. It is assessment." He chuckled despite the smoke burning in his lungs. "Assessment noted." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You cannot outrun aerial retrieval squads while burdened." "Good thing I'm not planning to outrun them." Her brow ridge twitched faintly. "Explain." "Going underground," he replied, stepping carefully toward a maintenance shaft half hidden behind debris. "There's a med bay bunker 2 levels down. Old Xenotech lab. Experimental stuff. It will not interface with Varelian physiology." "Maybe not." He glanced down at her. "But I've seen humans survive worse with less." Another tremor shook the corridor. Dust cascaded around them. "You should terminate me," she said quietly. "It would be mercy." He stopped walking. Carefully, deliberately, he shifted her so she could see his visor directly. You want mercy? He asked. Yes. Wrong species. For the first time, something flickered in her expression that wasn't defiance. Curiosity. You derive satisfaction from opposing logic, she said. Not logic, he replied. Quitting. She went silent for a moment as he maneuvered through a collapsed doorway. You are aware, she said slowly, that if my people discover this, they will interpret it as weakness. And if mine discover it, they'll call it treason. Then why persist? He exhaled, adjusting his grip as pain flared in his shoulder. Because you're still alive. Simple. Not strategic. Not calculated. Alive. Her breathing shifted, still controlled, but deeper now. You are inefficient, she said at last. He smirked. Story of my life. Another distant impact echoed above them. She studied him one more time. You are certain I am worth this? He didn't hesitate. Yeah. He stepped into the darkness of the lower shaft, carrying the alien warrior who would have killed him hours earlier. Behind them, the bunker continued to collapse. Ahead of them, something neither species had prepared for. And in her sharp, assessing eyes, the first crack in certainty. The maintenance tunnel opened into a fractured transit junction. Hale lowered her carefully behind a shattered cargo barrier just as his HUD flared crimson. Multiple hostiles. Closing fast. Bootsteps echoed through the corridor ahead. Measured, synchronized. Not human. Varelian retrieval squad. They will not assume you are alone, she said quietly, voice steady despite the pain tightening her jaw. They will assume I am already dead. Good, Hale muttered, checking the charge on his rail rifle. Let's disappoint them. 3 armored silhouettes emerged from the smoke at the far end of the junction, crimson plating gleaming in emergency light. Their weapons hummed with charged plasma coils. They hunt in triangular formations, she whispered. Lead draws fire. 2 flank at 45 degrees. Hale adjusted his aim, lining the rifle along the edge of the cargo barrier. Good, he said softly. I hate straight lines. The lead warrior advanced openly, daring him to shoot. He did. The rail slug cracked through the air and struck center mass. The Varelian staggered but held ground, exactly as she predicted. Left elevation, she warned instantly. 3 meters above you. Hale pivoted without looking, firing upward as a flanker vaulted along the wall's magnetic rails. The shot punched through a seam beneath the arm plating. Explosion. The body crashed down in a shower of sparks. The second flanker moved low, sliding across the floor with brutal efficiency. Joint beneath right clavicle, she said. He waited until the warrior committed to its lunge. 1 precise shot. Armor ruptured. The flanker fell. The lead unit recovered and roared, a sound that vibrated through Hale's chestplate. You cannot win a sustained engagement, she said calmly. Wasn't planning on sustained. The warrior charged. Hale ducked aside at the last instant, using the bulk of his suit to slam into the Varelian's injured flank. She twisted in his arms despite her fractured leg and drove her clawed hand into a gap in the warrior's shoulder plating. Her biometal flared faintly. The enemy convulsed and collapsed. Silence returned to the junction. Hale rose slowly, breath heavy. You just shorted his neural lattice, he said. Yes. Convenient. She tilted her head slightly. You hesitated half a second before firing at the elevated flank. You noticed that? Yes. Still got him. Barely. He smirked despite himself. Impressive intel, he said. Her gaze lingered on him. Impressive shooting, she replied. A distant rumble signaled more patrols converging. You are adapting, she observed. So are you. She studied the fallen retrieval squad, then looked back at him. You move as though you expect me to compensate. Do you? Yes. He nodded once. Then we're good. For a moment, something unspoken passed between them. No longer prisoner and captor, no longer enemies. Partners. You are reckless, she said softly. Yeah. She held his gaze. It is effective. He adjusted his grip and started moving again, deeper into the transit tunnels. Careful, he said lightly. Keep complimenting me like that, and I'll start thinking you're impressed. A faint flicker touched her expression. "Do not misinterpret tactical respect, human." He chuckled. "Wouldn't dream of it." Behind them, enemy reinforcements entered the junction, only to find their retrieval squad down. Ahead, the tunnels narrowed. And for the first time since the war began, a human and a Varelian warrior advanced together into the fire. The lower tunnel ended at a sealed vault Hale had never seen on any bastion schematic. The door wasn't Terran. It was Varelian. Black alloy veined with faint crimson light, humming at a frequency he felt in his teeth. She stiffened in his arms. "This should not be here," she murmured. "Define should," he replied, scanning the corridor behind them. Enemy signals were multiplying. Fast. The door responded to her presence, splitting down the center with a hiss of displaced air. Inside stood a circular chamber carved from polished stone and living metal. At its center rose a vertical crystalline pillar encased in rotating rings of biometal, ancient, elegant, humming with restrained power. Her breathing changed. "That is a Genesis crucible." "Sounds important." "It is forbidden." He blinked. "That sounds more important." Behind them, distant impacts echoed as retrieval squads forced their way through upper tunnels. "What does it do?" he asked. She hesitated. "It was designed for warrior pairs whose spinal lattices were irreparably damaged," she said. "It merges neural conduits, redistributes biological function." His eyes flicked to her paralyzed leg. "And it cannot activate with one participant." He frowned. "So, it requires dual sentience in harmonic alignment." "In English." Her luminous gaze locked onto his. "It creates a biological bond," she said. He paused. "Define bond." "Permanent." The word settled heavily in the chamber. "The crucible fuses neural pathways," she continued. "Motor control, pain response, reflex arcs. You would feel what I feel. I would feel what you feel. And if one of us dies, the other will not remain untouched." The corridor behind them shook under another explosion. Enemy signatures closing. She met his gaze steadily. "Your physiology is not Varelian. Integration could destabilize you." "Could," he repeated. "Yes. And if we don't use it, I will remain crippled," she said. "And we will both be captured." He checked his rifle charge. Low. Checked the tactical map. Worse. Then looked at her, warrior pride intact even while broken. "You're telling me I can get you walking again," he said slowly, "but I permanently wire my nervous system to yours." "Yes. No undo. No." The vault door buckled under impact. Hale exhaled once. "Yeah," he said, stepping into the inner ring as the metal bands began to rotate. "I've made worse decisions." Her eyes widened slightly. "You are certain?" "No," he admitted. He extended his hand. "But I'm consistent." After a heartbeat's hesitation, she placed her palm against his. The Genesis crucible ignited, and the door behind them exploded inward. The Genesis crucible erupted in crimson light. Not outward. Through them. Hale felt it spear up his spine like molten electricity. His breath locked in his throat as foreign neural patterns braided into his own. It wasn't invasion. It was alignment. He felt her thoughts before she spoke them. Not language. Combat geometry. Angles of attack unfolding in layered probability trees. Structural weak points in the vault walls. The exact millisecond delay between Varelian plasma ignition and discharge. And beneath it, her fury, her discipline, her shock at the immovable core of human stubbornness anchoring the merge. She felt him too. His instinct to shield first, strike second. The way he calculated risk not in percentages, but in people. The relentless refusal to abandon a fight once chosen. Her severed spinal lattice flared white-hot. Hale gasped as sensation flooded through her lower limbs and echoed through his own nervous system. He felt her toes flex as distinctly as if they were his. The vault door detonated inward. Retrieval warriors flooded the chamber. She stood. Not carried. Whole. She felt his trigger pull before he fired. The rail rifle discharged. Mid-flight, She adjusted the projectile's path with gravitational microshifts, splitting its trajectory to strike 2 targets at once. The first rank fell. Return fire erupted. She raised her hand. He stepped forward. A kinetic barrier snapped into existence around them, her control shaping it, his stance anchoring it. Plasma bolts struck and dispersed in cascading flares. They moved, not as 2 beings, but as a single will. He rolled left before conscious thought formed. She destabilized the floor beneath a charging warrior. He came up firing. She compressed gravity around an exposed joint seam. Armor ruptured precisely where he aimed. A flanker lunged from the right. She sensed it first. He pivoted without looking. 1 shot. Down. The remaining warriors faltered. Their tactical models were failing in real time. They had trained to fight humans. They had trained to fight Varelians. They had never trained to fight integration. Hale felt her power surge, but now it flowed through him rather than overwhelming her. His endurance stabilized her energy output. Her precision refined his aggression into surgical efficiency. Balanced. Evolved. The last warrior roared and charged. She shifted gravity. He advanced. 1 decisive strike ended it. Silence reclaimed the chamber. Smoke curled upward through fading crimson light. The battlefield had changed. Not because a new weapon had been deployed, but because a human chose compassion over protocol. And in doing so, triggered the beginning of something neither species had planned to survive. The last of the retrieval squads withdrew within the hour. Through their shared awareness, Hale felt the shift ripple outward, Varelian command signals fracturing in confusion, tactical formations dissolving into defensive retreat. They had witnessed something impossible. A human and a Varelian moving as one. The Genesis crucible dimmed behind them, its crimson glow fading to embers. She stood tall now, no trace of paralysis in her stance. Every step she took echoed faintly in his own nervous system. Not intrusive. Connected. Hale exhaled slowly, adrenaline draining. Then, a subtle tremor in the bond. "There's something you should know," she said quietly. He turned toward her. Before she continued, he felt it. Beneath the steady current of shared sensation, something new pulsed, faint, forming, impossibly delicate. A third presence. Not fear. Not injury. Potential. His breath caught. "That's not residual energy from the crucible," he said. "No," she replied. Her biometal plating glowed softly along the seams, not with combat readiness, but with transformation. The Genesis crucible was not solely designed for restoration, she explained. When 2 compatible neural matrices achieve full harmonic integration, generative convergence may occur. He stared at her. In plain terms. Her luminous eyes held his without flinching. "We have initiated continuity." The weight of that settled slowly. Through the bond, he sensed it more clearly now, a nascent fusion of human adaptability and Varelian biometal architecture. A hybrid neural lattice forming where war had once drawn a line. "You're saying we just—" "Yes." Outside the shattered bunker, human recovery ships began entering orbit. Varelian warships hovered at sensor range, uncertain, recalculating. If either civilization discovered this, it would ignite panic. A hybrid child was not merely biology. It was doctrine-breaking proof. Proof that enemies could merge. Proof that evolution did not require conquest. "They will see this as contamination," she said softly. "Or as progress," Hale countered. She studied him. "You do not regret the activation." He thought of the battlefield. Of lifting her from the rubble. Of choosing defiance over protocol. "No," he said. Beyond the ruined horizon, fleets repositioned, not for assault, but observation. Between them, the faint third heartbeat pulsed again. Not weapon. Not mistake. Beginning. Saving the alien warrior might have been a strategic error. But as Hale felt the quiet spark of a new species forming between them, he understood something both civilizations were about to learn. Evolution had just chosen compassion. Months later, the battlefield was a memory. Frontier Bastion K-47 no longer lay in ruin. Where ion storms once scorched the sky, Construction arrays now shimmered in synchronized arcs, Terran steel interwoven with Varelian living metal. Human engineers worked beside warrior-caste biosmiths, arguing over structural harmonics instead of firing trajectories. Where there had once been war, there was collaboration. The official record called it the K-47 Integration Accord. Unofficially, both sides called it the mistake. Because that was how it began. A mistake. A deviation from protocol. A human who refused to leave a dying enemy in the rubble. Hale stood on a newly forged observation platform overlooking the restored plains. The wind carried no ash now, only the faint metallic scent of living alloy structures humming in harmony. Beside him stood the Varelian warrior he had once carried through smoke and collapsing steel. She no longer needed support. But their bond remained, steady, constant, luminous beneath the surface of thought. He felt her presence as naturally as his own pulse. Inside the central medical sanctum, two civilizations waited. Human physicians stood shoulder to shoulder with Varelian neural architects. Not rivals. Witnesses. Hale felt the first surge through the bond before any instrument detected it. "It is time," she said softly. He took her hand without hesitation. When the pain came, he felt it, not as invasion, but as shared effort. He anchored her through it the same way he had in the crucible chamber, steady, stubborn, unyielding. "You chose defiance," she murmured through the bond. "Every time," he replied. Then a cry filled the chamber. Layered. Harmonic. Human breath braided with Varelian resonance. Silence followed. The child's skin shimmered faintly, traces of biometal threading beneath warm human flesh. Small horns curved gently from a dark crown of hair. Eyes opened, sharp, intelligent, curious. Not fully one species. Not the other. Both. Their child was proof that survival wasn't the pinnacle of evolution. Unity was. Across both civilizations, news spread faster than any fleet ever had. Military doctrines shifted. Cultural taboos fractured. What began as scandal became inevitability. Because something new now existed that neither side could erase without erasing its own future. Hale held the child carefully, feeling the steady third heartbeat that had once been only potential in the crucible's light. Months ago, the acrid scent of plasma discharge had hung heavy in the air as he walked alone through ruin. He had been told saving her was a mistake. He had entered that battlefield alone. He would never be alone again.